Who is John Okello? And how did one man manage to overturn over 3 centuries of slavery and racism? These questions are not just pertinent but necessary as we delve into the life of this unsung hero. John Okello was born in Uganda in the year 1937. As a child, he saw the harsh realities of colonial subjugation, witnessing Africans being treated as second-class citizens in their own land. These experiences would shape his worldview, driving him to fight for the dignity of his people. As he journeyed across East Africa, Okello's path led him to the island of Pemba in Tanzania. Here, he discovered a dark chapter in African history that would incite his resolve for change. In 1698, following the defeat of the Portuguese by Oman, the islands of Pemba and Zanzibar became part of the Omani Empire. The occupation of these islands enabled Omani slave traders to launch expeditions into mainland East Africa. No longer satisfied with waiting on the coast for African ivory traders, villages were raided for not meeting ivory quotas. Thousands of Africans were enslaved and shipped to Arabia, and millions of African elephants were slaughtered for their ivory. The ivory trade became a major foreign currency earner for the Omani government, prompting the relocation of her capital from Muscat to Zanzibar. Their society was upturned as a new ruling class of Arabs came to live with their African subjects. Regarding Africans as slaves, intermarriage was forbidden and Africans worked without payment under appalling conditions. The Zanzibar Emirate was seized by the British in 1890 after less than an hour of battle, marking one of the shortest wars in human history. As the winds of independence blew in Africa in the 1950s, the Emir of Zanzibar, now a British subject, sought to make Zanzibar a monarchy in order to preserve Arab privilege in Zanzibar. This effort ultimately failed, and as Zanzibar prepared for democratic rule, the stark reality of Arab minority rule became more apparent. Okello had convinced himself and his followers that there was no way that the Arabs would relinquish political control to Africans and lose the racial superiority they had enjoyed for nearly 3 centuries. Okello was shocked at how much the Africans had internalized a low-caste status. In the general election of 1961, the Emir of Zanzibar and the Arab-dominated Zanzibar Nationalist Party won a rigged election and formed the first independent government. In response, Okello, fearing an apartheid-style government, formed a highly disciplined secret militia who was sworn to secrecy and abstinence. And in January 1964, Okello and his men stormed the police armory in Zanzibar. Using the element of surprise as an advantage, they took control of the entire island within hours. Thousands of Arabs, including the Emir, fled the island back to Oman, never to return again. Okello and his revolutionary council have seized power and appointed the first black leader of Zanzibar in centuries. Okello was quickly sidelined by African Zanzibar politicians who used his Ugandan origin against him in order to consolidate power. Okello was barred from returning to the island within months, and he returned to his native Uganda afterwards. Okello had played his part in a circle of history, starting from the Portuguese expedition to India via the southern African coast, Portuguese defeat by Oman, Oman expansion into East Africa, British conquest of Zanzibar, Arab minority rule at independence, and finally, a return to majority African rule for the first time in over 300 years. His fight against slavery and racism changed the course of history, proving that one person can indeed make a difference. Please consider liking and sharing our videos. It helps immensely.